Welcome back to another episode. We have a very, very special episode today of Experiential Travel Podcast. Our guest today is across the pond. I've always wanted to say that, and I don't know what that came from, but I love that phrase. She is the owner and operator of Tractors and Cream. It is a beautiful glamping site in the UK. And we are going to pick her brain on all the things that she does so miraculously well. Miraculously well. I'm not even sure if that's a word. But I am so excited to learn more about glamping in the UK, and I'm so excited to learn more. Vicki, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. So I always start off explaining the first step of glamping, which is really the education part, right? And I think that learning the glamping space is hard because there's not a lot of resources out there, right, to start a glamping business. So I kind of wanted to hear how you started your glamping business, how you learned how to start the glamping business, and is it kind of a continuous education for you, and what resources you would recommend?
Okay, so we started having no clue about glamping whatsoever. We just bought a house, it had a field. We didn't know what we were going to do with that field, and we kind of stumbled upon glamping, which at the time we thought was yurts. We didn't know there were other options of structures. We just thought you went glamping in a yurt, because that's what we'd kind of seen. So we went and stayed in a yurt. That was our only bit of kind of research or education, was we went to one yurt, stayed there, had an awful time. There were loads of things that we thought, if we are going to do this, we would do it differently. And then even though we hadn't all the time, we still went with yurts. We didn't do any research as to what other things we could do. So we had a 6-acre field, which we then applied for planning permission, which in the UK you would apply for a fixed tent campsite is what they call it. So we got the planning permission really easily. It took us 8 weeks. It was a breeze. We were so lucky. And this is going back 8 years now.
Oh, wow.
And so then we bought 2 yurts and kind of winged it from there.
I love that. So when you started, did you know you wanted to do, when you bought the land, did you know you wanted to do some type of glamping experience and offer it as a tourism?
Not at all. So I'm a dance teacher. So we imagined that this house had an outbuilding, and I was going to turn the outbuilding into a dance studio. But then, because the field was kind of separate from the house and it lended itself to something different, we were trying to rack in our brains, what could we do to kind of have a business on the land? And we went through all sorts of ideas of goat keeping, maybe ice cream production that you could then go for a walk around a field. I don't know. And then eventually,
I love that.
because we met working in a hotel, we kind of had a hospitality background. So we thought, let's give like glamping a go and maybe have our own hotel on the field. So that's all it was.
That's amazing. So then you guys birthed the idea and ran with it. Was it just kind of a trial and error of like, we're going to figure this out? So I break down education into 2 parts, right? You have the theory part of it, and then you have the practicality part of it. It sounds like you stayed at another glamp site to kind of learn what you liked and what you didn't like. How much did you do any type of like theory of like reading any books or looking at any podcasts or YouTube videos, like, or was it just kind of by trial and error?
So bear in mind that like 8 years ago when we had the idea, glamping was pretty much in its infancy. So there were no glamping YouTube channels I could find. There were no books about it. There was nothing like there is today. Like, there is so much information out there now, whereas there was pretty much nothing when we started. So we just had to kind of go by what we would want from a holiday. So we decided, because we had 2 very small children, that we would make it family friendly. So we put in play areas. We made sure there were toilets right next door to the yurts, that everyone had their own private shower room. Things that, because we're not campers or glampers really, things that we knew that we would want if we went to stay somewhere. So no, there was just nowhere to research for us. We just had to kind of make it up.
I love that. I love the idea of being kind of like the first pioneer in the industry and then having to kind of figure out everything for yourself, because what you've really done is laid the groundwork for so many other people to kind of learn from and see what you guys have done. You have a phenomenal YouTube channel that breaks down everything. So people can also check that out, because I think you just showcasing what you guys have done is so incredible, because people are able to have kind of that hands-on experience virtually. They're able to see how you guys laid out your property with your site plan and see it from a virtual standpoint, because obviously I'm in California and Arizona, and I'm able to get so many ideas off of what you guys have done so well, so far away from you guys. So I think that's really, really, really awesome. So walk me through why this area. How did you find this area? Are you guys from this area? And what made you kind of choose this market?
So we're not from here. I grew up near London, very much like in a city, big towns. I thought I would stay there forever. And then my husband got a job in Bristol, which is like our now nearest city. And it was a massive wrench. I didn't want to move from London. I didn't want to come over here to the West Coast. I mean, it's not, in US terms, it's 2.5 hours from London. It's not far at all. But in UK terms, we're moving the other side of the country. So for me, it was a massive deal, leaving my friends, leaving my family. And Brian's from South Africa originally. So he said, property is much cheaper this side of the country than near London. So he said, we could probably afford to get a couple of acres. So I started looking at houses with acres that were near enough to work for him. It was an hour commute probably. And so we just stumbled across this house. And as I say, when we bought it, we had no idea about glamping anyway. So it wasn't like we picked the place for that particular industry. But when we got here and when we thought about it, it's perfect, because we've got our house here. There's communal buildings nearby. There's a whole field that is just developed especially for the glamping. So it worked out really well.
I love that. Yeah, I think that a big aspect, we talk about a bunch of people who have done house hacking. And I'm not sure if you guys have the same name for in the UK, but we call it house hacking, which is basically buying a primary residence and then being able to utilize and profit off of the other acreage in your on your land, or buying a duplex and renting out one of them. The term started with that concept of buying a duplex, living in one unit, and renting out the other. So basically you're living rent free, but it's transformed in the glamping space as house hacking is kind of basically living in a primary residence and then being able to create other units on your piece of land to increase, to have a side hustle or a business, and then to also bring in an extra revenue stream. So I think that's awesome that you were able to basically find the land and then sit down with your husband and be like, okay, well, how can we maximize the revenue coming into this house? I think it's such a phenomenal idea and strategy that you guys have implemented. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's funny though, because it was just like luck, and it was just on a whim, and there was no planning at all.
I love that. It's incredible how it turned out as well. So that kind of takes care of your market and then your lands. Now walk me through what made you choose. You guys started with yurts, and now you guys are kind of doing geodesic domes as well, correct?
Yeah.
And
So
then you have 6 units as of right now. Walk me through why you chose those structures.
So we thought, as I say, we thought glamping was yurts, so we bought 2 yurts. Then when we were told that we needed to take the yurts down every winter, that was like, these are a nightmare to put up, they're a nightmare to take down, they're a nightmare to store. So we did this for 6 years. We put them up every spring, took them down every winter, and then I was like, well, let's try a bell tent. So we tried a bell tent. That was awful. That just came straight down the wind the first weekend we put it up. So then we were trying to find the most wind resistant structure that was canvas, because our planning permission only allows for canvas. So we saw True Domes, which are our dome manufacturer. We saw them at the glamping show that we have in the UK back in 2017. And so we kind of thought, maybe this is something we could look into. So I did a bit of research. Turns out it's like the most wind resistant canvas structure you can get. So that's why we ended up going with geodesic domes, and now we've replaced our yurts this season. So now we've got 6 domes and an event dome as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love also what I'm a big fan of this guy who says that you don't you don't have to sell if you can do marketing, and you don't have to market if you have a great product. And I think that geodesic domes are such a great product that they sell themselves. Um, and so I think that's a phenomenal structure. I also like the idea that you guys tried a bunch of different units, right? I think that a lot of people stick to one unit and that's all they do, and they don't get an idea of taking them down in the winter is a massive hassle. So you guys were able to learn how that operates so that you guys can then figure out which unit works the best for you. We're the opposite. We can't do any canvas structures out in Arizona unless we're commercially permitted.
Ah,
So we
okay.
have to do structures that are on wheels. We have to do like RVs. And so all of our
Ah,
tiny
okay,
homes
right. That's
are
interesting.
built onto wheels. Yeah. That's incredible. So
Right.
the next thing would be utilities. Walk me through how you guys did utilities, power, water, and septic. Is the whole because all of your units are on this
Off
grass
grid.
field. Yeah.
Yeah.
So walk me through how you guys did water, power, and septic.
So we had mains power to our communal buildings, which were near our house. So we had mains water, mains power, fine. But the field obviously had nothing. So we needed to get a new water line in. So that wasn't too bad. That was about £1,000 that we managed, but we had to dig all the trenches. So we probably dug, I don't know, 2 kilometres worth of trenches to get water to all the different units. We also put in a big water treatment plant. And obviously, when we started, we had no idea how many domes or any glamping units we were going to end up with. So we thought, let's just future proof and put in a massive water treatment plant that could accommodate, as many as we wanted in the future. So we put that down near where the power was anyway. So it's a long way. It's a very long way to get all the sewage down from the domes. So the water treatment plant probably cost us about £6,000 at the time, but it was obviously a necessary investment because we couldn't use our house one because there was just too many people for it. So we got that done. We got the new water line in, and then we did look into getting mains power to all of them, and it was going to be astronomically expensive, like £25,000. So we
Jesus.
then started looking into solar. So the very first ones we did, we had just one solar panel into a leisure battery, which then meant we could get lights and charge a mobile phone. So that was fine for the first few years. And then once kind of COVID hit and glamping started to really ramp up and there was so much more competition, we needed to start putting in different things. So the next thing we wanted to do was an ensuite. So then we had to figure out how we were going to get hot water to these domes. So we put in a bigger solar system, probably like a 3 kilowatt solar panel system into big leisure or big batteries, which meant that we could then run an external boiler off them, get hot water, have lighting, all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of, as we've gone along, we've just kind of pushed the boat a little bit further each time and tried to learn more about what we can do. And you can do anything with solar now. It's amazing.
Yeah, the technology for solar is incredible. Now, solar's not an easy thing to learn. You have the charge control, you have batteries, you have the inverter. How are you the solar expert? Is Brian the solar expert? Is it just kind of a team collective of learning
Neither.
solar?
So we found a company. I can't remember how we found them. Somebody just mentioned them. Oh, use Bimble Solar. So this is a UK company who do like caravans, boats, anything off grid, that sort of structure. And basically, I spent quite a long time on the phone to the guy saying, this is what we want, this is what we need to achieve. We need a fridge, we need a boiler, we need, because I wanted to get an outside bath as well and have enough water coming through for that. How many kilowatts or how many watts did the boiler use? How many watts did the fridge use? So I just sat on the phone to the guy. He was so amazing. And he talked me through how much power we would need, and then we got the whole kit delivered. So he put the kit together for me in the car, and then I just ordered it all online and it all arrived. And I was like, now what? I can't do this. So my one of my really close friends, her husband's our electrician, and he'd never done solar before, but he did some research and bless him, he spent a long time figuring out how it all went. He phoned the company again as well, and they talked him through it as he was fitting it all, like doing all the electrics. And yeah, so now we've added solar panels to his CV. So yeah, it's just trial and error a lot of the time, just having a go, and yeah, you can do more than you think you can do.
I love that. That is so true, Vicky. I think that it's how I think about subjects is that anything's learnable. Any subject is learnable because subjects are just words, and words can be defined. And so if we're able to define the words, then we're able to understand the subjects. And if we're able to understand the subjects, then we can apply the subjects and get it all done. And you're literally living proof of that. You guys are living proof of going into a market that you have no idea what to do and just ticking off the next thing on the to-do list. Because that's what glamping is.
Yeah.
In owning a glamping business is what I found. It's the to-do list never ends. And it's just ticking off it's ticking off the next thing on the to-do list, and then eventually you look up and you're like, oh, we have 6 units that are fully occupied.
Yeah, and I suddenly know how to do plumbing, and I know how to do carpentry, and you just learn. Like, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
I love that. Do you have a favorite thing that you do on your, like, now that you've done and worn all of the hats, do you have a favorite?
It's ultimately being the host. Like, that's my favorite. I love greeting guests, I love chatting to them, I love showing them the place, I love the reaction that we get from when they see it and they're like, oh, this is amazing. I love it when the children are leaving and they're crying because they don't want to go. That's the part I love.
That's amazing. That brings us to the next part, which is your dream team. And I call them the dream team. It's your cleaners, it's your handyman, it's your on-site manager. Do you do all the cleans yourself? Does Brian do the handyman stuff, or do you do the handyman stuff? And then it sounds like you're the on-site manager that handles all of the guest communication. But talk to me a little bit about your dream team.
So obviously, yeah, Brian and I are the dream team. But Brian does have a full-time job, so he does need to get on with that. Obviously, that pays our bills, that pays our mortgage. So we need him to keep his job. This isn't something that we could right now. It's not something that we could just have as our sole income, mainly because we keep spending out. So every year we spend a bit more to kind of make the site better, add another structure, do something like that. So yeah, we can talk about more about that later if we want to. But the dream team part is, yeah, I'm front of house, he's behind the scenes, he'll do the mowing, help me with we'll do the maintenance together generally, because I'm more of a fan of DIY than he is. So we do all that together. And then I've also got a team of cleaners who basically I've employed my friends. So my friends they've got kids, our kids are friends. So sometimes when there's all 4 cleaners and me, there's 13 kids that come along, and all the kids just muck in, they play together, we get on with the cleaning. The oldest one's 13, the youngest one's 2, and so they all just look after each other, and it's fun.
I love that. What a phenomenal way to grow up. I think having
Yeah.
all of your best friends living on a glamp site, just being able to play around and get the space and get the nature, that's amazing. What an incredible job as a parent, as like a hands-on learning, because I feel like I don't have kids, but I love that. I think the greatest gift you can give your kids is to show what mom and dad do for a living and have them kind of go to work with you guys. And so I think that the ability to play around, but then also see mom and dad work, I think that's awesome, Vicky. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's teaching them a really good work ethic. They can see that what you can achieve from hard work. They can see, what can be done if you just graft and put your mind to it. And yeah, so it's so good for them.
That's amazing. So, so it sounds like I want to kind of get into how you guys are financing all of this. Brian has a full-time job that pays the bills and pays the mortgage, and then you guys are reinvesting all of the profits from the glamping business back into the glamping business, it sounds like.
Pretty much that's what we've been doing, is reinvesting. So obviously the first year we only had really 1 year in operation because I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. I was kind of doing 1 year at a time. I then spend the next 2 days cleaning the next year so that I'd swap people around.
Yeah.
And then did the next structure, then we did the next structure. So every year we've added probably, it's probably cost between 20 and 40,000 pounds per structure we've done. So basically everything you're earning goes back into the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep saying, like, Brian, we've got to stop spending, we've got to stop spending. But he's like, no, next year I want to do the 8 meter dome. So I'm like, oh, I don't think I can do it. But it's because, and we're worried because in the UK there is so much competition. Literally, we were one of the first ones, and then all of a sudden, there's another one in our village. If you look at, like, one friend who has a shepherd's hut, she was the only shepherd's hut in her area, and now there's 11 other shepherd's huts in the same area, and it's insane how glamping is growing in this country, and we are now reaching a saturation point in the UK where physically everybody is just sticking a shepherd's hut in their back garden, or an igloo, or whatever they can do. Some of them without planning permission, some of them without insurance, some of them just pop up sites over the summer. So it's just crazy here. So we feel like we want to keep investing to keep it the best it can possibly be. And that's hard work. It's exhausting because you're then like, oh, look at what this person's doing. Look how amazing their site is. And you get into this awful, like, comparison all the time. So at some point we are going to have to start trying to make some profit out of it. But, we're lucky that Brian's still got his job. And, if for any reason something happened, we could scale back a bit and then survive on our glamping site income, in theory.
That's awesome. I think that it was very interesting what you said. I feel like the U.S. is like 8 to 10 years behind the UK. There are tons of. Vicky's like, yep, pretty much. I feel like when it comes to glamping, there's not a lot of glamping experiences. I think that if the counties in the U.S. are in real time creating jurisdictions and policies based on glamping units, and so they're saying what can happen and what can't happen. And I feel like correct me if I'm wrong, but the jurisdiction of what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to, is more. It sounds like it's a little bit more relaxed in the UK. You're able to kind of just, as you said, it's more relaxed in the permitting process in the UK is sounds like it's more relaxed. Yeah. Do you think that it's going?
From what I've heard from the US, like, general chatting to guys like you in the US, it's UK is less complicated. Like, yours sounds so complicated. The zoning and all this business. Like, we don't have any of that. We've got our local authority. You would just put in your planning permission like you would for a house or whatever. You say, this is what I want to do. Then they have a look at it, and then they can, grant it within 8 weeks normally, or they can turn it down. I know we were very lucky because I have spoken to other people in the UK who've had 2-3 year long battles over their planning permission. But it seems like a more straightforward process. And because also you've got different states have different rules, don't they? So it depends where you are, depends on what they're going to say about it. So from that point of view, yeah, it's probably easier.
Different states have different rules, and then different counties have different rules. It's a nightmare
crazy.
here in the States. Yeah. So what's that process like with submitting to your planning department? What do you have to submit to them?
You have to, basically, you have to have a site map, so exactly where you're going to put everything, exactly where you're going to put hedges, probably the same as you have to do. You have to get all the documents. We had to get a flood risk assessment because we're in a flood risk zone here. We had to get highways. You have to get sometimes ecology surveys if there's bats or badgers or specific animals that we need to worry about. So, and then they have to assess like your sewage, all that sort of stuff. Um, and then they look at it from the tourism point of view as to, is this somewhere that needs to bring tourism in? So then you put your whole pack together, they give you an application form and you just fill that out and then you submit it and it goes to your parish council, which is your village's little council. They say they can talk about it as well. Then it goes to your main planning for your county, and then they just sit and have a look at it and then decide yes or no. Obviously, things can go wrong. They can come back and say, no, we don't like this. We need to do this survey, la 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 la. It can go on for ages. Access is normally the issue, or if there's neighbours objecting. But yeah, it's a fairly straightforward process.
Nice. I love. Yeah, I wish. I wish the U.S. was more like that. That's. So you guys have your own booking channel on your website. Do you guys use other
Yeah.
channels like Airbnb or VRBO or any other platforms?
We started off the very first year, we were on Airbnb and Booking.com, just those two platforms. And we then thought, right, we better get our own website because like friends wanted to come and stay. And I was trying to figure out how I would work that out in the calendar and stuff. So we use a company called Bookalet for our booking system that has a widget on our website that you can book online. So then we listed every time anybody came to Airbnb that first year, I gave them a 15% off voucher if they would book direct for next year. So then we had quite a few people rebook for next year on our website until the point where last year we were 100% bookings on our website. And then this year we wanted to get a few
Yeah, I
more.
love that. That's
We wanted to get a few more midweek. So we struggle with the midweeks in like May and September because we're family friendly. Everyone's at school, so we tend all the weekends get full, all the school holidays get full. But we thought let's try and get some midweeks in. So I relisted it on Airbnb this year just to try and get a few more of those midweeks, and I blocked the whole calendar on Airbnb out for weekends and school holidays and just left the midweeks. And that meant we did have then a few extra than we wouldn't normally. So I think it's quite good to have a combination of, like, people are always saying, oh, Airbnb's the devil, you want direct bookings and all that sort of stuff. But sometimes you just need that little bit of help. I mean, for us, I love the direct bookings because I know exactly who they are. They're mostly repeat bookings. We have about 80% repeat customers. So they leave the year in that year and then they book immediately for the next year. So I've got quite a lot of my bookings ready for 2024, which is a relief really that you've got that. So yeah, it's good to have a combination, I think.
Vicky. That's awesome. There were so many phenomenal parts of that. 80% booking on your own channel is, or I mean, sorry, 80% retention off of the next year is incredible. That's like, I've never heard that before.
Oh, okay.
We, in our area, we're more like, the town that we're in is 700 people, right? And people aren't going
Wow.
to the Grand Canyon every single year. And so like 90% of our tourism are new people going to the Grand Canyon for the first time. And so, but to have 80% retention off of the next year is incredible. And having it having it booked on your own booking platform for 2024, you already can project your revenue. You can already project what you're going to make in 2024. I think that's so incredible, and that's so unique to a lot of glamping units that I think you really struck something great there. And I love the fact that you are positioned to families, because I don't think enough glamping units, at least in the US, a lot of our glamping units are for couples, and
But you
they're
know why that
marketed.
is, right?
Tell me.
It is so much easier to do couples. Right, so take one of our domes. So I've got two double beds and a single, or a double and two singles, or sometimes three singles in every dome. So imagine all that washing when I've got a site of like 6 domes full, and I've got a holiday cottage as well. Like, just imagine that is a whole load of washing. Whereas if you've just got couples, you have like one bed. Like my friends had one shepherd's hut. and she has one king size bed to wash, and I'm so jealous. So when you just do couples, there's so much less washing, there's less kids running in and out of dirty feet. Like it is a lot easier to do couples. So I totally get why there's not so many family friendly sites, but that does play to our advantage. So I guess if you can stomach it and maybe you've got your own kids, I think possibly you need to have your own kids in order to make your site family friendly, because you know what the kids need. You know, like we provide free travel cots, free high chairs. We've got everything set up for kids. And because we've got our own kids, you know exactly what you need. Whereas if you don't have kids, it's going to be a lot harder to kind of think as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if I had
So
my
what
time
you're saying is that
again,
you're
I'd do
saying that I
couples.
shouldn't start a family friendly one. I have a husky. That is the closest thing to a kid. I know every
So
parent's
do
gonna be
you
like,
do dog friendly stays?
yeah, we're super dog friendly.
Yeah,
We're like,
yeah,
bring your
same.
dog. We do like a small pet fee, just because a lot of the time the hair to get off the linens is, we go through lint rolls like I'm
I
constantly
bet.
filling my Amazon cart with lint rolls. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But so that brings me to, okay, so I call it experiential travel because I believe that the experiences that we're offering to people are like no other experience. To be able to go to a place and have an outdoor hospitality environment that you're able to bring your kids to, that you're able to bring your loved ones to, and kind of unplug from society, right? Unplug from social media, from the news, and just and get back in touch with not only the nature but the your loved ones, like your kids, your families. And I think that even though yes, it might be a little bit harder to have a family friendly unit, the experiences that you're offering your guests are going to, these memories that these kids are making are going to last them their entire life. When they're older and their parents have moved on, these are the memories that they're going to be like, that
Yeah.
time was that was it. That was pure happiness, and you're providing that. And so I think it's so incredible to take a step back and look at it. I want to hear a story later on if you have a story that stands out to you like that. But first, um, I want to talk to you about management. How do you use any softwares to help you manage to talk with messages to guests, to help you with your pricing, or is there any softwares that you use that you would recommend other glamping owners use as well?
No. So I just, if they message me on Facebook or they email me, I just respond, whether it's like 10:30 on a Sunday night or 6 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning, or whenever they message, I just reply. I don't have any chat bots or whatever that people do these days. I just do it myself. Is that weird?
No, not at all. I was actually talking to someone else about this, and we automate everything. So I'm the exact opposite. We have an automation when they make a reservation saying your booking is confirmed. We have an automation that says kind of a to do, like what to bring, what we provide. Like, hey, you're going to want to bring a bunch of drinking water, but we provide propane and a barbecue. So, like, that message, which is about 7 days before. And then we have a check in message that gives instructions on how to do everything. Since I'm not there all the time, all of our check in is done by the guests and it's fully sustained. Some of our units have door codes that they literally just put in their phone number and can open the door. Some of them have lock boxes. So all of our messages are automated. But I was just talking to someone about how great the personal touches are by being able to communicate. And so I had a gentleman on the podcast that was speaking about that he will, when the guest will write, we're coming for our anniversary, and he'll respond saying, we're so looking forward to having your guys' anniversary here. If you guys need anything, let us know. And having that personal touch is really, really valuable. I just know how time consuming it is. As you plan on scaling, are you wanting to kind of delegate any of that to softwares, or are you just on for the journey of managing everything yourself?
Yeah, I'm totally on for it doing it myself. So when someone books online, they do get an automated, here's your booking, here's the confirmation, here's the check-in stuff. So I suppose that side of it does. But I will always personally message the guests before they arrive saying, these are the arrival details. Can you call me half an hour before you're due to arrive, and I'll make sure I meet you by the gate. So I meet every single guest, I check every single guest in, unless they've been here multiple times. But normally when they have been here multiple times, I want to go and say hi and give them a
Yeah.
hug and say, oh, it's so nice to see you again. And so then I end up chatting to them for longer. Um, so no, I have no plans to reduce that at all. My husband, who is not a people person, he does want to automate. So he was looking at the Touch Stay app, because there's an app that you can, I don't know if you have it in the US, you probably do, where they can download the app and then they have all the information they need. You can take photos of where the parking is and you can give them the key code, and like it's all through this app. And I was like, oh yeah, but then I don't get to talk to them. And that's what I love.
I I completely I'm on both your and Brian's camp. I love talking to the guests, but I also love the fact that a lot of our stuff is automated because our turnover is so like our typical stay is 1 day, 2 days. So we have
Okay.
3 or 4 cleans happening every single day. We have 3 or 4 new parties checking in every single day. So trying to keep track and making sure every reservation has all of the information, doing that myself would be a nightmare, and I don't want to do that. But I will tell you that there is no better feeling than swinging by one of the units at like 8 o'clock, 7 or 8 o'clock, and they got the bonfire going. They got beers or margaritas in their hands, and they're grilling some food, and the kids are playing, and there's music playing, and going and walking up and saying hi and introducing yourself. There's For me as a host, there's no better feeling. So I completely understand when you say you want to meet them at the gate, because there's like an endorphin rush that you get, right? You're a very
Yeah.
extroverted person, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's that instant gratification. It's why you do the job. Um, like Brian never gets the feedback from people because he never speaks to people. So he just wanders around the site going, "Oh, this needs doing. This needs doing. This isn't good enough. You need to make sure this cobweb isn't here. Like this is what He's on top of all the maintenance, like what needs to happen to make it perfect." And then he's just like, "Oh, this is exhausting. Oh, why are we doing this?" And like, well, you need to go and speak to the guests, and you need to understand why everybody loves it so much, and then you might feel a little bit happier about it.
I yes. I could not agree more, because I go back to the why, right? The why are we doing this? Yes, it's profitable. Yes, it makes money. Yes, it's a great way to increase money coming into the family, but why from a larger existential standpoint, from humans, right? What's our responsibility from a human standpoint? Uh, Life for me boils down to 3 or 4 core memories. And I know that I have created some of those memories now, and I know that I'm going to create a lot of those memories in the future. And my why is I want to deliver a space, deliver an environment that can help facilitate those memories. And I think that what you have done and your ability to produce those memories for family is incredible. Like you look at what your impact on the world has been by providing the space, and it's so positive, and it's so remarkable to see someone be able to do that, and especially with no education in the field at all, and just understanding it through trial and error. It's incredible. I think that's really, really, really remarkable. So you do all of your
It's
check-ins
good for
yourself.
you. It's good for you as a human. I think to surround yourself with positivity and surround yourself with people who are happy has a massive impact on your life. My sister's a cancer nurse, so she's always surrounded by people who are sick and dying, and it's exhausting. And obviously, we need these amazing people. But I feel like if in your job you can surround yourself by people who are happy because they're on holiday, they're having a lovely time, they're giving off happy vibes all the time, then it's going to make you a happy person. And I've always been a really positive person. And I think I couldn't do a job that had negativity in it at all. I couldn't survive. So that's part of the reason I do it, is because everyone's always happy.
I love that. That's so amazing. And I I want you to, next time you have a guest checking in, force Brian by the collar to come and meet them and say hi to them. So you can understand a little bit
try.
more. I'm sure he does. Um, okay, so I'd love to hear a story now that we're on the topic of, do you have a story that you guests came and created these memories that reassured you why you're doing what you're doing?
So that happens all the time, really. Like, because we get so many repeat guests who, and most of the time, every weekend is booked by a group. So they'll book the whole site. Sometimes they'll book twice in the year because they'll want to bring a separate group of friends with them. But we've had this particular family who have come every year since the beginning, and they've got one son, and he gets on really well with my son. And so last year they came in August like they normally do, and Jake was like, I don't want to go home, I don't want to leave. And I had an opening for a weekend in September, which happened to be his birthday weekend. So he asked if he could come back on his birthday weekend and have his birthday party with my family and any guests who were there. And so I put him on, because we do afternoon teas and events as well. So I put him on like a little mini afternoon tea party for him, and my children went, and then other guests who were at the glamping site went, and he just said it was the best birthday he'd ever had, just because he loves to be here so much, and they're coming back again in a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. But yeah, they come mostly every year because of my son, because they want to play with him.
Vicki, I just got the goosebumps. That is amazing. I love that story. You're literally you're creating a core memory in this kid's life, and I think
Yeah.
I'm speechless. That's so amazing. All right, well, I think that's all the questions I have. Do you have any other tips or tricks or anything else that you would suggest a new glamping owner?
Oh gosh. I would say if you've got a burning desire to have a go at running a glamping site, just do it. There's nothing really stopping you apart from your own reservations. Like, as I said, if I can do it, if Brian and I can do it with no experience, and winging it through. I mean, Brian is pretty good at the planning side of everything. Like, he's got a very analytical brain, whereas I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. Oh, let's just give it a go. Like, we do complement each other. So that's part of the team, isn't it? Like, getting your team. But yeah, I would just say go for it. But do it in the US, not in the UK, because we've got too many glamping sites in the UK.
I love it. I love it. Well, Vicki, thank you so much for being on. Where can people find you?
Well, I'd love you to check out our YouTube channel. At the moment, I'm trying to vlog the whole of the summer holidays because it's what I call crazy season, because my kids are off school and then the glamping site is full. So yeah, we're vlogging that, so you can kind of get an insight to what it's like to run a glamping site day to day. You will probably end up on this week's vlog.
I love it. I can't wait.
And yeah, websites, tractorsandcream.co.uk. You can, if you've got questions about running a glamping site and you want to talk to me about it, I'm more than happy to chat to anybody about it. Because of having to go through it all and having to learn as we go along, why waste other people's time? If I've done the mistakes, we've made the mistakes, and we can pass on the knowledge, then why not? So we've mentored loads of glamping sites around the world. I'm talking to somebody in Tanzania at the minute, who's starting their site there. So I'm more than happy to chat to anybody who wants to chat about it.
I love that. What a phenomenal way to pay it forward, right? I think that's what this whole channel, I want it to be as well. Is I had a mentor when I was starting mine, but there's not a lot of resources. And so I wanted to create a channel that talked to other people that own glamping sites so that we can kind of discuss best practices. And I love the tip of having you and your husband, and how important it is to have someone who is the analytical mind and the numbers and the everything is, this is the way we're going to expand, and then the creative mind of like, everything's going to be great because we're doing it and we're going to figure it out. And I think how incredible it is to have both of those. I know that I rely heavy on my family as the backbone of what we're doing. So I think that's awesome. And thank you so much for sharing some insights on what you're doing. And if they have any other questions,
Pleasure.
I'll have them go to tractorsandcream.uk to check it.
.co.uk, yeah. Or Instagram, Facebook, Threads. Oh my days, there's TikTok. There's everything now, isn't there? You can just. That's that's why we chose the name Tractors and Cream, is because nobody else in the world, as far as I'm aware, is Tractors and Cream. So if you put it in, you'll find us.
So, lastly, walk me through Tractors and Cream. How did you get the name? That's a phenomenal name.
So, because when we first started, Tractors and Cream was pre-glamping. So I was doing cake decorating, I was doing dance lessons, I was doing afternoon teas from a yurt, and glamping was an idea. We were putting the planning permission in. So I didn't want to have a business called Somerset Glamping or anything like that. It needed to be something that could incorporate all these different things that we did. So Brian really liked this place in South Africa called Diesel and Cream, and it was just like a hotel and some like did milkshakes and stuff like that. And he was like, "What else could we be other than Diesel and Cream? Maybe we could be like Tractors and Cream." And I was like, "Yeah, that would do." That's very
I
fun.
love that. I love that. That's so awesome. That's amazing. All right, Miss Vicky. Well, thank you so much for being on, and I'd love to
Oh, thanks for
chat
having
another time
me.
soon, and we'll chat soon. All right.
Yes, yeah, keep in touch and yeah, let me know how it's going.